Hello everyone. Today is Monday, and that means that we're watching Fatality and Pinkamena playing our already classical tournament, the Monday Chess Fight Night Arena. I am Master Arman Geyvondyan. I hope you already know me. Today I am your commentator as usual. We're starting with the Fatality game. She's playing black. The opponent has quite similar rating to her. We have some weird distant opening. White plays 91 in order to make the f4 idea work. The f4 is played and black is playing f5, just making the similar moves. It might be a decent strategy in this kind of position. White decided to take on e5 to take the action first. I doubt this decision, to be honest. I think that maybe simple knight f3 was a little bit better because it would be difficult for white to I think that knight f6 would not be good because of the f take e5 and black will be forced to take with a pawn. And now black maybe even has some advantage because the pieces are more active. There is a pin on f3 and white can't make the same pin because the black's knight is still on e8. c3 is played. Difficulty is that there is no nice and easy idea for black to convert this pin, convert this advantage of the active pieces. Black has to think of something interesting. Instead, just decides to exchange everything. That's more of a safe decision. The only problem is we can't play knight f6 because of bishop g5. Black exchange on f3, and at this point I think that this was not the best choice for black because white now have much more active pieces. Some threats like bishop g5, rook f1, the f file belongs to white now. Queen f7 is played, so black is desperate to make some exchanges, just not to be just blown off the king side. But white may just play queen g4. I think rook f1 is a mistake. Queen g4 was better. And then rook f1 was coming, and the knight on e8 was just absolutely awful. It's still not a good piece now, but at least now there are no more queens, which means that this problem can be solved. Black plays b6. The idea is to play d5 now, and there will be no more knight c5 move. White would really like to prevent the d5 threat, but is there a possibility to do so? I think it wasn't, and white thought this way as well and played d4. Black reacts with d5. Now knight goes to d6. And actually, black's position, you see, there is some sort of advantage that will possibly be in the future that you can see already, that the white's pawns are standing on the dark squares, the same color as white's bishop. I don't think that this is real an advantage now because, you know, that's just how things usually work. But in this exact position, black's dark square bishop has no space, and white's bishop is not worse than black's, maybe even better. Black decides to exchange rooks. I don't like this decision. I would prefer rook e8 because f-file doesn't really matter. There are no places for rook to go. And if we have played rook e8, we would have been threatening rook e2, and white maybe will be forced to play king f1, which could be faced by knight c4, for example. White don't want to exchange queens, exchange rooks as well. That's interesting. There is much less value on the e7 square because will always have the rook f7 move. I think at this point black is just playing for the draw. Doesn't really fancy some chances. The exchange happens, bishop goes to f4, king f7 now, of course. No why? No, h6 oh no, this is not good. This is maybe not a huge mistake, but I don't get it. Why our opponents were standing on the white squares. This is just perfect, and for some reason we decided to make our position on the king side a little bit worse. I don't really get it. Now we have to play something like c6, yeah. And knight e6 is safe. Knight goes to f6 instead. I think black just doesn't want to count if the exchange on d6 is good, but I think that the exchange on d6 can be bad for white. Even if white managed to go like knight h1, knight g3, knight f5, black's bishop on f8 will completely counter the knight. This will be useless. Bishop goes to e5. Now we'll go knight e8 for sure. Because why not? But I already see some problems for black, because after knight e8, white can maybe count knight d3. Bishop f8 is played instead. Maybe that's better. We'll now just play bishop d6, and we are fine with any exchange of these two. White exchange on f6. But this is not a good timing to do so. In the previous position, when I was like talking about this idea, white at least had the idea of knight h1, but now it will be met with bishop d6, and this is just a waste of time. Now black's position maybe is a little bit better, because as you know, bishop is better than the knight in most situations. The only thing that white just can't afford to do is to take on c5. This will be a huge mistake before it's played. Yeah, I think otherwise the position is like didn't weaken enough for black to win. So white's position is quite safe, so no reason to worry. And after this move especially, I don't see any chances for black in this one. I don't see chances for white either. But it will be good not to let knight go to f5. It will not be too difficult, I think. Also, I would not let knight on b4, so I'll play king e6 now, so that we would have a bishop d6 move after knight a2. White is trying to do something tricky, but I don't think that these chances can be real. Knight goes to c3. So what's the choke point? To go on d1, maybe. Knight a2. Now we have to play bishop d6. No, bishop d2. Oh no, that is not good. We didn't really have to do that. We didn't do it. Oh no. And now white really have some chances. The pawn is lost. To be honest, I still think that this might be a draw, but no, not now. Now white can play knight c8 check. After king c7, play knight e7, then knight f5, take the h6 pawn, and after this, I think that 2 pawns are always enough. You see, as I always say, that's why you have to know endgames. This was position that black just couldn't possibly lose, and somehow managed to do it. White will just play maybe h4. I think it might be fine. Maybe it's still not so easy to win. Not so difficult either. I don't get it why white just don't force the issue and don't play h4. It's quite a safe decision, I think. Just place your king on f3 and play h4. So for some reason, white really don't like to do it. Well, now if whites are not accurate, there is a possibility of something like repetition. Bishop d6. a5 is played, finally. It has to be enough, I think. But maybe now we have the king c7 move. I'm not sure if white had time to actually defend this pawn. Well, at least white had the knight c6 move, and after king b6 we're playing knight e7. So white is really out of danger in this position. Knight f7 is threatened now. Bishop will be forced on h4, and this is not really a place you'd like to see it. Yeah, and black even can't play king e6 because of b6. Oh, actually white gives up a pawn. Oh no, luckily there's a knight e7 move. Well, but now many pawns are exchanged, and of course this is still a win, but now I think that there are some chances. Oh, and d6 is not really an accurate move. The king e6 was just making a draw, I think. So white was not really playing a good end game, and still got away with that, I think. Because yeah, just d7. And even if white's king is absolutely far away, there is no way that black will take on h3 and white will just play knight h6. I don't get it. What just happened? Why black didn't play bishop d8? Why did white not play d8 queen? Guys, I'm so lost. Sorry. I feel like essentially every move was a mistake in the last like 12 moves, 20 moves. Fatality really has to work on her end games for sure. Now let's watch one game of Pinkamena. I think it's like maybe a French exchange variation. Am I right? Yeah, I am right. And this is quite a common position in this setup. Knight e5 is played. Wow, that's some tactics. I think we have to take with the pawn, and we'll threaten the a7 pawn. That's a weird idea, but it will actually end with us having a better defended king. That's always good. Queen takes e1 is the simplest decision, and we'll have a decent advantage, I think. No, f takes g7 is a mistake because of rook e8. That's a blunder. You see, we usually don't like our pawn structure to be like this, so we don't like our f pawn to be on g3. But in this exact position, it will actually work in our favor, because our king will be defended, and that's what matters most in this kind of endgames with the queens and the knight, and just in some similar endgames. Even in this position, white have maybe not advantage, but white's position is at least fine. White just can't exchange queens. This will be even a loss, I think. I don't actually see black winning this position. This is almost impossible. Queen e6, queen f7 will be played, I think. White don't have a good plan either. That's why I think it's a draw. The knight on c3 is just awful. So we have to like create some maneuver for it. Where would we like our knight to be? I think somewhere on f4 maybe. But we can't straight play knight e2 because... Oh, at least... No, I think we can, actually. But this is, like, dangerous because there will be a queen 5 move, for example, and we don't really like to count it all. So I have to play something like, I don't know, queen e3 with the idea of knight e2, I think. Queen e2 is a misclick, maybe. White blundered the g3 pawn, and black didn't take it. Queen d3 check is a good move now, and then knight e2, and actually white will like successfully finish this maneuver that is absolutely obvious to go knight e2 here. White offers draw, black declines. I don't get why black declines the draw because white's position is much better now. Well, not much better, that white is the only side that has some winning chances. You see, kids just don't see plans like this. So you have to have like a strategical mindset to do it, and kids usually don't have it. So if you like understand how chess works globally, you have to know that you'll easily see that knight on c3 is absolutely useless. So it has like no squares to go, and if you move this knight to somewhere like f4, it will be just a god tier piece. So it will attack the g6 square. It will annihilate all black's threats on g3 that black can possibly have. So it will be an absolute game changer to move the knight to f4, but oh, and black even helps white to see this idea. That's actually the last thing that black had to do, because after queen stood on e5, there was no easy ways to like go knight e4 because on knight e2 because the pawn b2 will be hanging. Now I think knight f6 was winning the game because of queen a8 check, and this threat was very strong and almost inevitable. This was not seen. White played knight f2 instead. Now knight g4. White's position is still much better. White has some chances. Queen a8 and queen e4 and queen d4 was winning a pawn now. I think. Maybe not winning a pawn, but at least it will force black to play rook g8. Our queen needs to be standing on e4, but now we already can't do it. Knight f6 check is played. Black have to count king h6. Queen h8 is played. Now we have to take... No! Oh my god! And now white's position is absolutely lost after this exchange. White has like 3 pawns and a knight, and this position is like absolutely completely lost without even any chances to make a draw. No, oh my god, guys, it hurts so much. I said that white don't have a single way to lose this position, and yeah, this was the way to do it. So the only thing that white had to avoid is exchanging queens. It's literally the only way to lose a game here. Very sad. Now let's go Fatality. Maybe she'll cheer us up a little bit. I know, guys. I know that maybe I like don't look so good when I'm just such emotional, and maybe you think that just leave the poor kid alone. So she's trying her best. She's not very experienced. She just don't know many things. But yeah, it's just the feeling that you get when you know these girls very well, and you're like really cheering for them, and it ends up like this, and you're like, oh no. It's like you see when you are like a fan of some team, for example, if we are talking about football or just I don't know CS:GO or anything, and your team is like losing a game by playing really bad, and you just like you have that weird feeling of like just guys, how can you play like this? You can do better, and you know. Fatality in her game blundered the pawn on d4, and after this position is not looking promising. But I think that black didn't play accurate, and now we have a draw, chances for a draw, and now it's definitely a draw. Rook c1 check, and now our next move is definitely h4. So if we succeed in placing our pawn on h4, we successfully made the draw. Black is playing really weak, and we won't even like have to play without give black an extra pawn. So position will be absolutely dead equal after likes of a7. Rook takes c2, and now it's a 3-on-3. Are we really playing this? I hope we're not, but seems like we do. h5, yeah, after h5 I don't think that it's possible to win for any side. Just 2-on-2 is just not enough pawns. Of course, white will go h5 check and maybe hope for some chances like rook c8. It won't work really. Yeah, white is happy with the draw, I think. Rook c8 can be played. It will not lead any side to win, so black will just give check and then play king h7 or king g5 even. No, rook b8 is played actually. Oh, it's like a little chance now. So maybe it was a good decision. I think that white can try king e6. This may work. Oh, white didn't believe in it. Well, it was still a draw, of course. I don't think that there were some real chances, but I think that it was possible. Playing king e6 was possible. Hi guys, hi. I was like just connecting to our stream. So we have a Caro-Kann defense now and double berserk. So this will be an interesting game. We don't have additional time. I remind you of that. So now it will be not only a game of chess, but also a game of time. Knight f5. So if white decides to like force the knight off by playing g4, we'll always have knight h4 move. That's why we're not scared. Knight goes b6. Black's position is good. I think black actually has like a little advantage here. Queen d7 is possible, then rook c8. And then we are fighting for the c file. Oh, this is not really a good decision for white. Giving black opportunity to play the knight on c4. b5 was a mistake. And knight takes c4 is not good as well. Now a5 is just giving black a very serious advantage. The exchange on a3 was not good either, because why would we do that? We can like take on e3 anytime we'd like to do so. But maybe for some tactical reasons. In the end, black now has an extra pawn. and the knight again, and the bishop against the knight, and now has two extra pawns and 20 extra seconds. So yeah, this game is fatalities like every day of the week, and I hope today is not the exception. Rook goes to c7, queen goes to a4. This will not be fast, but we can afford to like win it by playing slowly, not rushing it. Rook c4 is played, yeah, so now rook on d4 is attacked, and if white decide to defend it, the rook will be distracted from attacking the c3 pawn. This will give us some more opportunities. Black is playing maximum safe, so didn't even count taking on d4. Maybe it was working, but who cares? We don't like to risk it, and that's a correct play when you are winning like this. Yeah, black has 4 extra pawns. We'll give some checks, and yeah, the timer runs out for white. And the game is done. So what happens in Pinkamena's game? Let's watch one. White have, I would say, like relatively questionable pawn structure. If they were worse. You don't like your pawns to be like doubled away from center. And I'm talking about the b3 pawn, of course. Because now black can slowly take the control of the center. a5, of course, is not a good move. Not a bad one. Knight goes to h4, planning to go to f5. So yeah, that's the only chance for white, some active counterplay. And when your opponent is like flanking you, you always have to, usually you have to make some counter aggression in center. So maybe black could have played d5. Decided to play queen d6 instead, double attacking the pawns on e3 and b2. Yeah, double berserk is reasonable, I agree. And yeah, that's really a huge disadvantage when one side is not taking berserk. So I myself like had some games when I was losing to someone like 1800 rated person. And it didn't feel good, I would say. Because yeah, having additional time is a real advantage, a huge one. So that's what I was talking about. So now the e3 pawn may be weak. But I think that black wasted too much time. And now actually I would give favor to white's position. Because white have some like attacking threats on the king's position. f6 is played, king h1. Well, you see, taking berserk is worth it in many cases, even if you like lose to some person who don't take berserk in response. Because you see, there are like two strategies in this kind of tournament. The first strategy is just not to take berserk, like except there's absolutely obvious situations. For example, if you're playing with like 1100 rated person and you are like Magnus Carlsen, but you don't take berserk in some just not these obvious situations, like when you're playing against like 2100 rated person. You just play carefully and you hope to just win it on class. Oh, knight takes h6 is winning now. Yeah, that's why attacks are so strong. So yeah, and the other strategy is you can just take berserk in essentially every game. Hope that you'll be playing against someone who's taking berserk in response. But even if you don't, you just play so many games that at some point it doesn't really matter how many games you lost. So you are not playing for the quality, you are playing for the quantity, I would say. So what's the tactical way to finish the game here? Let's try to find it. I think that the best way is to play queen h5 checks and queen e8 check, and then oh no. G5 is played. Yeah, that's the only defense from it. Now this king, the king is so compromised, but at least I don't have like a straight way to win this game. H4, knight takes e3. Yeah, so there are some counter chances really. The rook on c1 is attacked, so at least it will not be so easy for white just to win in a couple of moves. And maybe black will have time to create some sort of defense. For example, by playing rook f7, maybe. So white's best bet is to play rook f1, I think. But rook f1 can be actually met by queen takes d3. And the rook will be attacked once again. So that's why white plays rook g1. And now I think, yeah, we can really play rook f7. Rook g7 is chosen instead. Well, I don't actually think that white really have some ways now to win. I think maybe there is a world where this position is even equal, I think. Maybe white really have to make a perpetual check. Queen d8. Yeah, now I'm sure that black has an advantage here. Maybe I was like miscalculating the evaluation, really. I think queen e2 was possible, and it was good maybe. Rook c goes to f7. So yeah, black is trying to play safe. Queen goes to c8. I think now we can play queen takes d3, really. Just take one more pawn. Just create some like material advantage for the future. And defend from queen f5 check. The only thing that we don't really have to do is to think so much. We have to play faster. Pinkamena, let's go. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. No, queen takes on d3, yeah. The exchange on g5 happens. F takes g5, just don't think, don't think. Rook f4 is a good decision. Rook f4, let's go. Oh, Pinkamena runs out of time. That's very strange and very unfortunate. Maybe some technical issues or some internet problems. Or maybe she just forgot the time. Hello guys, thank you for your comments. This is really heartwarming to read all this. I'm really glad you enjoy the commentary, you enjoy the tournaments, the players. We are trying our best to make the stuff that you can enjoy. I think in the final position where Pinkamena ran out of time, she had a really nice move, queen g6. And if white played queen takes e5, there was a spectacular move, rook f4. Maybe. Yeah, and after rook takes f4, we play queen h6 check, rook h4, queen takes h4, queen h2, the exchange, and we have an rook endgame with an extra pawn. So let's go back to Fatality's game. She is 6th place, so I think that while we were watching Pinkamena, she had a decent streak. This is a Caracan exchange variation. So the Carlsbad pawn structure. I remind you that black's plan usually will be to create weaknesses on the queen side by pawn minority attack, b5, b4. The opponent is Cold Zera 1995. I wonder if this nickname is like cause of the famous CSGO player called Zera. Double major winner. Queen h4. Now knight f4 is threatening. Black maybe can play bishop d6 to defend from it, but actually knight f4 would still work. Oh, white really have a very, very successful idea. So yeah, after knight f4 we can't really play bishop g6. But we don't even have choice. We will play bishop g6, and we will lose a pawn and maybe even something more. We will lose castling also. Oh, thank you guys, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, g5. Maybe. Well, g5 actually is a good decision. So black had a very difficult situation, and Fatality finds a way to like give up only on one pawn. But at least black will have castling, will have a decent pawn structure. Yeah, that's right. 16-0 and cold 0 is like one can't be without another. That's right. I'm actually a CSGO fan myself. I watch a lot of games, and I'm even working in the CSGO industry, so I'm about to work. I mean, I am now tested as an assistant for a professional CSGO team, Enterprise. Such the team from like I don't know how it's pronounced. The Czech team, chess, Czech team. Sorry, guys. Actually, a decent team. There are like top 50, I think. And I'm like, and I'll be an analyst for them. B3 is played. Oh, knight h5 is possible, actually. Black can play knight h5. And then, well, black won't really win a minor piece because there is no f5 move because of queen g6 check. But this exchange on f4, it really favors black because when this will be a position of the bishops with different squared bishops, and in this kind of position, the material like extra pawns, they absolutely don't matter because the only thing that matters is like whoever is attacking. Oh, and knight e4 is even better. Actually, Fatality found a tactical way. Oh, and why did I thought that the idea was to play rook h4? Rook h4 was winning a huge in terms of material, but knight takes c3 is good as well. Maybe it's even better. Bishop goes to e3. No, I think that's in the end like. Oh, actually, white will lose now. Knight e5 is possible. Knight e5 is just finishing the game right here, right now. Wow, this will be like incredible. Oh no, it's not. After knight e5, white have a bishop b5 check and will not lose a minor piece. This is some incredible tactics going on. And I think that our players just don't see anything of this. But this was really like cool. Rook h4 winning, I think, yeah. Did you even try to ever to play CSGO professionally? Well, I didn't. I don't have too many hours in CSGO. You see, I had a family with strict parents, and so I wasn't allowed to play computer too much. And so I don't really have some mechanical skills. And I was always busy with like studying, making a chess career, and So I just I started my interest in CSGO in like maybe 2 or 3 years. Like so 2019, 2018 maybe. Do I work in Russia? Yeah, I work in Russia. I work as a QA engineer for Sber. It's our it's our main bank, and now it's an ecosystem with a lot of companies. It's really a good place to work, I'd say. Knight c2 is played. Knight c2 is a tricky move. Black really is going to take on d4. Yeah, Fatality is really not scared of anything. So that's a very interesting decision. Not an easy one to do. It's based on some tactics. Now knight takes f3 can be played. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, Fatality, this was actually a cool game for her. She did really well. So it started in some bad ways. Bishop h4 is a good move now. Queen e3 is decent. Yeah, I think that this endgame is easily won. Yeah, so queen e3 is a nice move. So Fatality really started bad in this game, but she managed to recover, to find some chances. Yeah, that's really nice. She's showing her class now. Why would I just don't get why did black play king b8 instead of king c7? Who will explain? Oh, black maybe was scared of rook c2 actually. So maybe this was even a very important decision. So why am I laughing? I'm ashamed. So yeah, Fatality really shows some class. The bishop f4 will be just a final nail in the coffin. Yeah, that's nice. So decent. e3, now just e2 or rook f2 check instead. Yeah, bravo Fatality. That was really nice. So what's happening in Pinkamena's game? She won the last one, and she is 49th place. Fatality is 6th place, and she's playing against the 3rd place. Oh, this guy really has a huge rating. 2566. This is pretty much. Who is he? Some German player. We have a Sicilian. I need my own cactus. Well, I'll think about it. Do I have Armenian roots? Yeah, I am Armenian. But I was in Armenia. The last time I was in Armenia, it was in 2003, I think. I'm not even like allowed to be in Armenia now because I'll be like forced to fight in wars, and I don't really like this perspective. Well, Fatality has some very weird position. I don't understand this kind of situations, but I would give advantage to white. Not a big one, maybe. I think knight e5 is maybe possible. Yeah, white's position is better, definitely. The pawn structure is better in the first place. But black managed to consolidate, and maybe some activity will compensate these weaknesses. We need to find a good place for a white squared bishop. Maybe a5 was a good decision. Bishop g4 is the other way to solve it. So maybe bishop is going to g6. I actually like this idea because the bishop on b3 attacks the f7 pawn. And we really like to have someone defending it. Just look as well. Look at the fact that the pawn on c6, it's like a weak pawn, but actually it defends the important d5 square. It cuts off the c3 knight. Well, I would question this exchange a little bit, but at least, yeah, you see, bishop on g4 is taking control of the d1 square. And I think white really had to play h3 now. This was important because black didn't have a bishop h5 move because of g4. And black will be forced to move the bishop away. And white will have control of the d file back. And I think bishop e6 was a mistake as well. I think that black maybe had to play knight e5 and try to keep bishop on g4 to fight for the d file. Do I know how long Fatality playing chess? No, I don't. I think that our the Chess Fight Night channel will answer this question. I'll give my guess. I think that maybe for like 4 years, maybe 3 to 4 years, I would say. This is like default in chess now. Rook d8. Oh wow. Wow. Does this really work? It looks really weird from tactical perspective. Black gave up some pawns, and I don't really think that there is too much compensation. I think that maybe it was a blunder. Black could have played a5, and I don't see why it was not good enough for black. I don't think that white really have a very huge advantage still, despite having an extra pawn. Knight f4 was interesting, but I think that white have knight b7, and it's just winning. Yeah, sadly. Oh no, it's not. After knight b7, we have queen g6. Actually, our tactical approach works. Knight e2 is threatening. Yeah, she definitely plays queen g6. There is no other move. Let's go, Fatality. There is nothing even to think about. Let's go. I hope she sees it. Yeah, queen g6, that's nice. Also, knight e2 is threatening. Queen g3 is played. Yeah, queen g3 is a good move, yeah. So what's our reaction? Yeah, that's a very difficult situation for Fatality. She has to make the perfect move now. I think that there is a move that works, but it might be difficult to find it. I think she failed. I don't think that rook b8 is the move that we needed. I lost the nation. Sorry guys, I don't see it in the chat. Can you please tell me what just happened? Oh, so what's happening? Let's go. I hope your chat will tell me what did I miss, and I'll try to analyze the end game for you. Oh, this is actually a very spicy endgame. You know, white has an extra pawn, but it will be very difficult for white to defend the g2 pawn. Yeah, g4 was a nice move, really. But those threats, I don't think that with those threats, white have huge chances of winning it. I think this position is equal. Would rook d3 have worked? What position are you talking about? When we played rook b8 or what? g5, rook b2, rook f3. Oh no, that's not a good sign. So now we are forced to defend, and that's not what we will like. Oh wow, f5. What? No, this will not be enough. This is not going to work. Sorry, fatality. That's the reality. Am I a poet or what? King g3. No, I think white had to play e5. But this maybe is working as well. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate that. Well, this is a very difficult endgame to evaluate. I think a couple of moves ago, white was winning, but now I'm not sure. Oh, e6. There is an e6 move, yeah. Yeah, and it's not working for black. This is sad. I think this was a decent game, but at some point fatality like lost the track. The endgame, the rook endgame was drawn, and that's one more. You see, there is one more endgame where fatality had a draw and she missed it, and you see this happens very often. You know, sometimes when I talk about how endgames are important, people like say that endgames are rare, so it's better to study middle game. But you can see that the blunders in endgames, the misplays, they cost too much. You can't afford it really. Rook. So you're saying rook d3. I think that you mean rook 8 to d3, right? After this move, so what will be? White will take on g6. I think there is no other move there. We'll have to be playing knight takes g6 because we can't take with the pawn because rook will take on f4 and go back to f1 when we play rook d1 check. And after we play knight takes g6, white will play rook takes c6, take one more pawn and threaten the checkmate, and we will not even have a good way to defend from it. So if we play like h6, the f7 pawn will be hanging at some point. Of course, white can't like take it straight away, but I think this was not working. But maybe there wasn't even a way actually to have an equality. So maybe fatality did her best. Yeah, endgame is the heart of chess for sure, absolutely. I think that if you are learning, it's really essential to learn endgames because you become better. So you understand the pieces, how the pieces work. So when the board is empty and you have like one rook against the other rook and some pawns, you really understand the potential of the rook and you understand the potential of other pieces in endgames. So, you know, for example, I can win like, you know, these positions where two knights can make a checkmate. So it's a draw, two knights, king and two knights against a king. But when your opponent has a pawn and the pawn is blocked, you can just win the game by pressing the king to the border and then like make a stalemate, move the knight away, and then make a stalemate and checkmate. And you see, my high-skilled players are usually very surprised when I show them the potential of the knight. So the king and the knight can move the other king to the border, to any border you choose. So it sounds like impossible, but actually the knight is much more powerful in endgames than people may think. And with understanding of the potential of the pieces, you can really make some beautiful endgame stuff. And it's like a poor strategy. That's what I like about endgames. There is no like traditional tactic. So either he goes there. So the tactics works the other way. So you think that I need my knight to be there, and I need my king to be there, and I like this exchange, and I don't like this exchange. And so this is nice and easy, and this is like pure strategy, and you can really enjoy it. That's what I like. So let's read another comment. Well, I will just I will quickly say that Fatality now has an extra exchange, and it's another endgame, but I think this one will not slip away. So we'll read the comment. Arman, I understand your frustration when the girls don't play the optimal moves. We all want them to do their best. As someone who watches sports religiously, my emotions are a roller coaster daily. Yeah. I watch sports very often as well. I don't usually watch chess, to be honest. Maybe this can sound weird, but that's actually the facts. I really like to watch football. I like to watch CS:GO. I like to watch like even poker maybe. I think I'm a little bit tired of chess maybe myself. Also, it's difficult to find a caster that can like something that will like surprise me, or just I'll find out something new. And I'm also always watching the commentators in the foreign language in English, because the English commentators are, in my opinion, much better than those we have in Russia. So the culture is different. We usually try to make some professionals commentate, and they prefer like the diction, the vocabulary, how you talk. So it has to be beautiful. The viewer has to like it. So that's why like English commentary is much better in many ways. So you can see the signs that Fatality is just not understanding the end game. So you see, Black already blocked the king side, and even 2 pawns block 3 pawns, and the dark squares are weak. So potentially, if some file will open, white will be threatened with some checks on the second rank. And so h3 was not really a good move. So, the pawn was standing on h3, so f3 was not a good move. So white played f3 just to stop black from playing g4. But g4 was a bad idea, so the g4 is not a good move. So we didn't really have to stop it. I am also lacking at endgames. I have 2200 on lichess now, but I'm not sure if I can win a better endgame against an 1800. This problem can be solved quite easily. So buy the Dvoretsky's endgame book and just learn it from border to border. Just watch it, read it carefully. Well, if you don't even read it carefully, just read it, you'll get the results. This is the ultimate best endgame book that is existing. The alternative is the Panchenko's endgame book, but it's like it's a little bit smaller and a little bit worse, I would say. Well, I think until Fatality has the queen side and it's not closed, I think it will be enough to open one file, and after this we have to just win the control of this file and the position will fall. c5 is played. c5 is a nice decision, actually. White have to play like a3 maybe, then b4. Ending knowledge is crucial. You can throw a one position from opening middle game if you lack skill in endings. This is very good book written by Russian Given Panchenko. Greetings from yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, but in my opinion, the Dvoretsky's book is even better. You see, I myself read the Panchenko's book first, and it was like enough until some point. But then I read Dvoretsky's book, and also my coach, Igor Yanvaryov, like the best coach in the world, I would say. He is a real endgame specialist, and he just taught me a lot of things in rook endgames especially. And after this, just like my friends are really scared to to go on end games with me. So my usual game against someone who knows me well is like I'm always trying to exchange queens, and they are always trying to dodge it. This is very funny, and just the evaluation doesn't even matter sometimes. Fatality actually made a real strange idea work. So she put her rook on b6. This is not a common place for rook in these situations, but the other rook had time to go to b3. She took 2 points, and she got the revenge. She got the revenge. So she lost the previous game to this guy, Yevgeny Kanev, and now she got her revenge. I don't see this going like in favor of black or even a draw. I think this is just too much of an advantage. It can't really slip away. Before, then rook a6, and it's done. Speed chess and bullet chess make chess even more exciting. It amazes me how well Fatality and Pinkamena play with 3 minutes on the clock. I have to get in time trouble with 10 minutes. You know, bro, I get in the time trouble with having like 90 minutes, then 40 addition, then half an hour additional after the 40th move. And you even have like half a minute additional time every move, and I still manage to get into time trouble. Arman, at your level, you're playing chess. The elite plays memory chess. No, they don't. I'm not sure they don't. I know many elite players, and this is not the case. So of course they really know like openings like just very well. So I'm not even competing with them in that component. So they use a cloud like engines to analyze it. So for many hours they have like people who help them, but actually it's not real, because you see after when the opening ends, the players still, they don't know already just the moves, but they still play brilliantly. I can't play in the same level, of course, and people with like 25-2600 ratings, they can't play at this level as well. So it's not only about memory, not only about openings. Also, you can see, you say that people playing by memory, so why are even elite players make so many mistakes in end games? So you can just learn end games, just remember it. But actually they make a lot of mistakes that look even funny when you are familiar with end games, and they are not. So that's not the case. The best of the like elite players is the perfect tactics, so no blunders in any moves, just seeing some really impressive tactical stuff. And the other component is like consistency and good openings, and I think the main one is a huge strategical understanding of like common positions, common pawn structures. So the experience, that's essential. Queen goes to d7, h4, rook e8. Fatality has a really nice position. So now she'll go king h7, yeah, and she'll not rush, so she has 1 minute and 9 seconds. But she's not in a hurry, really. So she's in a hurry in order of like types of her moves, but she's not in a hurry in order of like the amount of the moves. f4 is played. G takes f4, wow. This is not good, I think. Bishop takes h4 was fine. Oh no, wow. This is a very strange decision. Why Bishop takes h4 was working nice. We were winning, I think. And now black's position is worse. Well, that's a tragedy. Oh no. White can even take on d6. White is scared of doing so. But now the time trouble will like be a factor at some point. Now chess is you play versus computer and learn many moves. Now the kids play better and seems like they're purposely losing to make it look like GM know how to play. No, you see that you may think that kids are very strong because they get many of their points of the rating in the openings. So they know the openings well, but you see when they just fail to catch some random grandmaster in some like opening novelty. After this, the game changes, and just their lack of experience just becomes a huge factor. Oh, you see, in this position, so Black had a victory, but with the king on f5, Black could have just played h5, then g5. They'll have the passed pawn on h file, and White will have on f file. The exchange will happen, and Black will easily win an endgame. So Black missed this opportunity, and she even lost. Look, this is the third endgame this day, and I was not watching every Fatalities game. I watched like 5 or 6 games. This is the third one, and the third lost endgame, which was initially victorious. So this is just proving that I'm right about this. Remember the game between Magnus and Anish? Magnus traded the queen for 3 pieces just at the opening. It was a beautiful game. Anish said that the engine didn't consider the trade in his studies. Yeah, so engines also, they have drawbacks. So engines may not understand the irrational positions, the closed positions. Endgame engine is not so good in openings. So engine is not like chess are not only about the engines. So there is still just so many things in chess that are very difficult to analyze. So the chess are very far away from being like solved. So you see Magnus Carlsen just wrecking everyone, just the elite grandmasters, and the eliteness doesn't help them really. He finds a way like to find some weird positions that are like not common. You don't really know what to do. You have to think yourself. It just tricks them somehow. Is it true that every Russian newborn baby starts with 100 elo? No, it's not true. No one starts with 100 elo. In my youth, when I was starting my chess career, we were starting with 1400. I think that's the lowest you could get. Now chess became like more popular, and now the starting rating is about like 700, I think. Queen b5 check. Well, in this game, Fatality really has an advantage. So Black's pawn structure is very questionable, and also the king's position is not looking good. So nowhere to just castle safely. I think Black has to really give up on some pawn, one pawn, and castle in the first place. But Black decides to keep it in play, keep the pawn, keep the material. Well, maybe if Black managed to kingside castle now, it will not be this bad for Black. Maybe knight f4 is a nice decision. Queen g3 is possible with the idea of queen e5. Yeah, knight f4. Now Black has to exchange and make a kingside castle and like hope for the best. But I think still that White's position is much better. So White will play rook c1, Black will respond with rook c8, then we will play queen e5, and the pawn on e6 will be hanging, really. King goes on d7. Well, king will never be safe on d7, but maybe this is a decent decision, actually. I think we can safely exchange on d5. There is no point in like keeping the knight on f4, I think. And then maybe go something like queen h3, and then rotate to the queen side with our queen. Chess culture in Russia is so high that babies learn chess with mother milk. Yeah, I can say that that's true. Definitely. I'm still studying in the chess school for some time, and I see children that are like real keyboards, so cyborgs. So they're just not human anymore, just the ultimate chess players. Queen b3 is played. Yeah, so that's actually the idea. I was thinking about queen h3, to be honest. I wanted the f5 pawn to be attacked, but maybe it doesn't matter, to be honest. King e6, so black is making this weird move to defend from queen takes b7 and queen a4 from both the threats. King e6 is nice move. Actually, black is defending really nice. But I still think that it will not end good as black wants it to. a6. Now maybe queen b4 can be played, or queen b3 is better, I think, to leave ourselves more opportunities. Queen d7 maybe is the only move. Queen e7 is played. Queen b6 check and king f7. So what's our next move? We can actually exchange on c. No, we can't. The pawn will be defended. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but it's not working. Maybe Fatality wants to play queen h6, but there is an h4 move. And I don't see the continuation of this. Sadly. Seems like black actually did a good job and managed to defend from all the threats. Oh, I don't like the queen h4 move. It looks weird. And usually when moves look weird, they're not strong. And it's not like the exception. So black will at least lose the pawn on b7. And then the pawn on a6, and this will be enough. For some reason, white is not happy with this. Maybe just wants black to think for some more time, and then go queen h7 again. This is like a mature decision from Fatality. You see, by making these two checks, she doesn't change the flow of the game, doesn't change the evaluation of position, but actually she managed to gain some seconds, and now she's wasting it. Yeah, maybe it was not as mature as I was saying. Why am I having a Russian accent? Because I'm Russian. I know this may be surprising, but that's how it works. You see, if I try hard, I can talk without an accent. But when I have to speak fast, I forget about like this. Queen takes h5. Rook takes b2. Queen e5 check. And now I think we can just go h4, h5, not even defend on a2. So we don't have a reason to do so. Oh, a4 is nice. Black will waste some time taking this pawn. Now just h4. Yeah, and h5, h6. Might be enough. The pawn on d5 is weak. Rook a1 is played. Exchange, king h2. Yeah, the pawn on h5 will be enough. The only goal that we have is not to be just perpetually checked. Queen f5 check. then h5, h6. No, h6, h7, I mean. e3 is played. Nice try, but at least you can play queen e5 check and queen takes e3. Or yeah, exchanging queens. King f7 and e6 check is the easiest way to win the game. Well, what happens in Pinkamena's games? We didn't look at her play for some time. Maybe it's time to do so. Knight goes to e2. So what's this? The pawn structure is like we're playing checkers, not chess. Funny one. Maybe actually it's nice pawn structure, to be honest, because black can't really play d5 because the pawn on e5 will be awfully weak. But for white it may be difficult to find a good plan as well. The bishop on e7 is like struggling a lot, but it's bishop. And bishop is still better than knight in most of the situations. Black would maybe like to play rook f7 and then bishop f8, but rook f7 can be played because of knight g5. So maybe just g6. Knight d7 is played. So where is knight going? Let's try to guess it. Maybe it's going on like rook f7, then knight f8, then knight e6, then knight f4. Something like this. Queen d2. So white, you see, white went for an exchange of this like weak bishop. Bad bishop, as we usually say. But was it really this bad, to be honest? So what's the plan for white? Is there really a plan? May sound funny, but I think white may try to like move the king to the queen side. For example, just play c4 into that position, then king f1, king e2, and just go to the queen side, move the pieces to the king side, and try to like 4-on-3 win the battle on the king side. You have mentioned the best endgame book. Can you mention some of your favorite opening books? You see, I don't think that the best way, a good way to study openings is by reading books. Because when someone writes an opening book, when it's like, when you read it, it's already just, it's not like actual. I think that the variations that you see, they already may not be working. Or may not be like the trend, the meta in this opening. So usually it's good to read books give you not variations, but the understanding, the essence of the opening. And I can recommend you if you like French opening as I do. I play French like for my entire life. Oh, Pinkamena just completely lost the track of the game, and she don't have an additional time. So yeah, it's done. For French, a very good book is Vityugov's book, French Defense Repertoire for Black. And also he has a second part, I think, Repertoire for White. This is a very nice book. And you may know Vityugov if you're like not familiar with this player. He was in the semifinals of the World Cup, the last World Cup. And he actually was knocked out by not winning the absolutely dead victorious position and then losing an unlosable endgame. But yeah, it happens to everyone sometimes. But his French book is really impressive, so it really gives you an understanding. Also, I didn't read this book, but I heard many players to recommend it. It's Avruch's book about the Catalan, and also I heard many good things about the Sakayev's book about Slav defense. Also, there is a great book from Sergei Shipov the quite well-known chess streamer here in Russia, the commentator, a very like famous player. So he has a book about the hedgehog system. So there are some nice books, yeah. But they're not really, most of them are not really about openings. I think that maybe Sakayev's book is just all about variations, but the others that I was saying, they are just give you overall understanding in the first place. The Anand's repertoire book is nice, I would say. Yeah, I think the best way to study opening is to just you look on the like variations. So for example, in lichess you can go like tools, analysis, openings, and you just you're interested in some variation, you just make moves that are the most popular, and then in the end when you have a choice, a close choice between the moves, when you can like really choose and not be like one move is not really much better than the other and you have a real choice, then you can choose and you can just watch the games of the strong players, try to find out the main ideas or how it has to be approached. If you're only learning, starting your way in chess, the best for you is to learn the opening books that was historically invented just earlier, some Italian, just King's Gambit and all this. And just your task when you're just learning is not to lose in endgame and not to have an awful position, just to have like an equality, maybe a slightly better position, and then play yourself by just thinking and all this stuff. That's what I would recommend as a coach. So in this position, Fatality is having a good advantage. So you see the king side is cut off with the e5 pawn from the queen side. And we have 3 pieces attacking the king side. And also we can play h4, maybe h5. And black's reinforcements will be quite far away from this side of the board. And now black blundered the knight on a7, and all this already doesn't matter because we have an extra minor piece. And that's it. So you see, white had a space advantage, and there are many minor pieces left on the board. You see the space advantage affects minor pieces in the first place. It can be really felt. And also, yeah, the board is like sided apart by C and D files and the e5 pawn. And yeah, the attack would be strong on the king side. Yeah, coach don't play. That's right. Well, I play a little bit myself, but you see, I'm so disappointed. I'm not like trained in tactical ways. So when I was starting my chess career, the only thing that I was good at was tactics. And I can hardly believe that at this point of my career. So I think now tactics is my absolutely weakest spot. So I don't really have enough talent in this component, and I didn't work on it enough, has to be said. So I didn't solve tactics enough. I'm like a strategical player, and you see, I'm always so disappointed when I like strategically just destroy my opponents with a huge rating, and then I just miss it all by one stupid blunder, or when I just get into a time trouble and once again make a stupid mistake that costs me like 6 hours, 5 hours of work. In classical games, at least, it don't happen like this often. So I like classical games, and I have a bigger rating in classical games. I'm actually better in classical games. I'm also good at rapid, I would say, but blitz games it's not really what I'm capable of. I'm also quite good at bullet, I would say, in all board. So I have like mechanical skills with my like fingers, with my hands. For some reason, I don't know. Well, it's the final game of the tournaments. Let's just I can talk about all this just all day long, but I would better be commentating the last game. So I'll give some respect to our players. Oh, Simon, hello! Wow, we have a really strong player in our stream. If it's him. So he's a grandmaster, a very strong player, a very. I know him. I know him. I remember him as a young talent, but now he's a very experienced player that we all can learn from. I myself lost to him an end game, and I didn't lose it because of some tactical stuff. I lost it because I didn't understand it enough, and he did. So that impressed me really. So that was an game. He had 2 rooks. I had a rook and a knight and the 2 pawns against this. And yeah, we had a lot of more pawns, yeah. And I thought that I'm playing for a win, and the position was equal. I was thinking this like maybe 2 or 3 moves, and after this, I understood my mistake, but it was already too late, and I lost. So you see some great players in our stream. I'm really glad to see Simeon. So yeah, what happens in our last game? Fatality has a c5 square. She played before now. I don't think that this was necessary because now we give up control of the c4 square, but this may not matter, to be honest, because there is no easy routes for the black knight to the c4. So the only way is to just like exchange on c5, and then we'll have a path by like c8, b6, c4, but white will likely take with the pawn on c5, and we'll have a strong pawn and also some a4 like ideas maybe. So you see white is happily going for these exchanges. Black knight goes to c6, and he now is even further away from the c4 square. White play f4. Yeah, you see, so white is creating some attack on the king side. That's the right thing to do because once again, white has a space advantage, and when you have a space advantage, it's easier for you to like make maneuvers with your pieces, to go from one side to another. Now white have to play king f2, I think. Knight f3 instead. Knight f3. Like, oh, there is some maneuver. So knight is going to c5, maybe. I don't think that this is the right idea. Maybe I had to do something more fast, like king f2, g4, rook g1. Knight f5 is played. Knight is standing like nice and beautiful on f5, but it's like nearly useless. So yeah, that's why it goes back. Now we can go knight a5 and maybe create some threats on the queen side. Oh, actually, white decides to the knight on c5, and now we'll maybe try to attack on the king side. I get the idea, but I think that the straight attack was maybe a little bit better. g4 is played. For some reason, I don't like king on h1. I think that I would maybe myself would play king f2. So if somehow we end up in an endgame, the king will help on f2. And I don't really see like how our king is going to be like attacked. So I don't think that the king was vulnerable. So that's why it was better to place him on f2, a little bit closer to the action. King h7, now maybe h4, h5. Why not? It's good in terms of pawn structure. The e6 pawn will be hanging after f takes g6 if black decides to take with the pawn. If decides otherwise and takes with the knight, we'll always have an f5, f6 idea, or f takes e6. Rook a1 is played. And I don't really like this move. I think that white can't afford to spend some time defending. White had to maybe create some winning ways himself. And now if some more exchanges happen, if now black, for example, plays queen b8 and win the fight on the a file, the game may turn around. White could take the b5 pawn now, but I think that maybe there would be a perpetual check. Black will give checks on the b file, and if white just defends with the queen, the pawn on b4 will be lost. Knight goes to c6, and white decides to take on a7. I think queen takes a7 is really strong, and I actually think that white's position now is worse. Yeah, the g4 move is now going to cost white really. Oh, and queen takes d5 is not looking nice. I think maybe it was better now to think about defense a little bit, because now black will just give a lot of checks. I think that this knight takes d4 move is not timed well. I think that black had to play queen b2 check first. Because white's king would have to like carefully choose where to go, because it will then be threatened with knight checks. Now there is a queen d3 move. Black at least can play, yeah, queen b2 check and queen takes b4, and this is a very grim position. Because some endgames are already lost for us. Knight e2 was maybe strong, but yeah, queen takes b4 is better. Knight d7. What's black's ideas here? Oh, black play queen b3. Actually, I think that white is lucky, because now there is some potential to make a draw, I think. I think with the queens on the board, this was a really really sad position, because we have like 17 seconds and we'll never defend with the queens on the board. There will be a lot of tactics, we have to count a lot, and this endgame, I'm not even sure that it's won for black. I'm not entirely sure. King goes to e3. I'm not sure if this exchange was actually good, but you see, now the king is cut off, so the king can't go to the queen side. So the knight just keeps control of the f8 square and the f6 square. So maybe black will at some point have to prepare and go for the f6 move. Because yeah, all these checks, they give nothing, so we'll just play king e2. The knight goes to f4, maybe. But it still changes nothing, to be honest. Oh, actually, black can't even play knight f4, maybe because of h4. And this will be a straight draw. King e3. This game doesn't already matter in terms of points, but let's see if at least one endgame this day will finish good for Fatality. At this point, she lost like 3 out of 3. Knight g2 check. King f3 is nice, yeah. Knight e1, king e2, yeah. Maybe black is now thinking, so why did I decided to exchange queens? We'll definitely second guess this decision at this point. Black is wasting time. Black has to go knight e7, then knight g8, then f6. This is the only possible win idea. All the other stuff will not work. Even this one. Because now white has a king f2 move. And black can take on h2. Yeah, it will definitely be a draw. No, this is not a good decision from black. Of course, black will not lose in this position, but will not win either. After d4, at least we can play knight h6 check. Take on f7. And we'll never lose this position, I think. Oh no, and king g3 is a bad move. Black could have played king e4. And black make a mistake themselves, I think. Or maybe not. Now this endgame, I'm not sure. I think it's still a draw, but now white will have to like work and play carefully. For example, king h2 now can be played. King h2 is a strong move, I think. And I think it's the only move. I feel like it has to like not be winning, but it's very difficult. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, and now it's definitely lost. King h1, and it's another endgame that Fatality lost, another draw, another possible point that we could get. Not in terms of arena, but in terms of like respect, in terms of skill, in terms of rating, whatever. Well, we have a sad ending of our tournament, and Pinkamena lost her final game as well. We are not really lucky to get some good results in the end. Well, let's leave the poor girls alone. So let's see the final rankings. So what's the Fatality's final place? The Aladdin is third. I think you know this player if you're familiar with our channel. Fatality is 11th place, so she had lost a lot of places in the end. And Pinkamena is 38th. A little bit higher than usual, I think. So maybe it's a good result for her. Fatality's rating fell to 100. Well, that happens sometimes when you research a lot. The tournament is won by Kuklavod 069. Had a very good ending of the tournament. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Monday or maybe earlier. Keep in touch. Just don't forget about our streams.